Hello, everyone. It's Chris, the Batman Statue Collector, your Dark Knight of Collecting, and welcome back to Brotherhood of the Bat Collectibles. We have a very, very special guest today. I'm so excited that Jake Fogg is with us today, and he is, of course, a member of the Collectors Comic Guild, and I just want to welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure being on the show, man.
Absolutely. You might know him from a featured collector we did recently, and that was amazing. He has an amazing collection, and it's only going to get bigger, I'm assuming, correct?
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, yes.
So you were representing Superman. I've got Batman here today. But you reached out to me not too long ago and thought, hey, this would be a lot of fun to have some dialogue about some statues that we would like to see made.
Yes.
If you guys follow this channel at all, you know that I'm a massive fan of Batman surrounded by his rogues. And we've been lucky enough to have a lot of rogues over the years. But, of course, there's lots of them that have not been made in a premium format style, or like even a 1/3 scale, or other things that the collectors are really wanting. I think a lot of times that's because, you know, Batman and Superman sell. You know, they sell, and sometimes the B or C characters, maybe they don't sell as much, but there's still a lot of interest and demand for these characters. And so it'd be really fun to kind of count down our top 5 most wanted villains that we would like to see made. So I can't wait. Are you excited about this?
No, I'm super excited. This was really tough because, you know, we've had so many iterations of different characters, but there's still, as you pointed out, so many. And with Batman especially, he has just a number of characters that are, you know, not used too much, but there's such cool villains that would make awesome statues. And to your point, a lot of times, you know, we get multiple versions of Joker, multiple Banes, or multiple Harleys, where instead, you know, some of us would like to see him try some of these other characters out. So I'm really excited to do this list with you, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll do it we'll count from 5 down to 1. Yep. We also have some honorable mentions as well. So we'll talk about that right before we get to number 1. How about that?
That works for me. That works for me.
Okay. Well, let's start with number 5. So let's say what the villain is and maybe why you want to see it in statue form. Okay.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay. So what's your number 5?
My number 5 is from one of the best Batman stories, one of my personal favorites, and that is Talon from the Court of Owls. He is just a cool looking character. He's one of, you know, Batman's biggest nemesis because he can really fight Batman. He's one of the few guys that can go toe to toe and really go hand to hand with Batman. And Court of Owls is such a popular storyline. I mean, there's rumors that, you know, the next Arkham game is going to be based off the Court of Owls. And yeah, fingers crossed on that. And it's just one of my favorite Batman stories. So Talon has such a cool look to him, and, you know, that assassin mind, and just to see him in premium format or 3rd scale, I think would just be such a tremendous piece. So Talon is my number 5.
And he's definitely not a character that maybe everyone knows yet, but he's just so cool looking. And like you said, he has so much skills. He's kind of like a Deathstroke type character where he's got, you know, he can match Batman so well. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
And if you haven't read Court of Owls, I strongly recommend it. It's a phenomenal Batman story.
Yeah, if you have not read it, you need to remove the rock that's under, you know, just place it off to the side because it's absolutely worth reading. And of course, Capullo, I mean, what an incredible artist. Yeah,
definitely. What about you, man? What's your number 5?
So my number 5 is one that I sometimes get some flack for, but I would like to see a Clayface. And Clayface, it's been said to me by some of the statue companies, it's like, well, who would pay money for just a pile of mud? And me, there's a lot of collectors that would, and I think that if you do Clayface right, and I don't think I would want a Clayface in 1/3 scale. I think I would want it in 1/4 scale. I think that'd be an appropriate scale for him, kind of like a Bane size, like the Bane behind me here. Yep. But you could do so much because, you know, he forms into whatever shape he wants. Or I have always liked that the Batman the Animated Series look of Clayface. So that kind of like the yellow teeth and the kind of the yellow beady eyes. I think if you do it right and have like something like a sledgehammer or something coming out of his hand, it doesn't have to just be mud. And of course, you know, the way you could add texturing and detailing and the way the mud ripples off. Right. And the base could be interesting as well, like some mud actually forming off the base or something. Right. I think there's a lot you could do with that character. And again, I get why maybe some people wouldn't want him, but I think for the diehard collectors that really, I mean, Clayface is a fun character. He's an interesting character, and he's been featured in big storylines like Hush and other things. Yeah. So that I would really like to see a Clayface.
Yeah, and it's cool, you know, in the recent years, we've seen him actually kind of join on the ally side of things within the storylines, and he's being used, you know, a good amount now. But for me as well, with the animated series, one thing about Clayface is you would have so many options because he can mold himself to look like other characters. So, for me, like an action pose where he's like forming into somebody, or, has, to your point, like a club or something like that. There are just so many cool poses and different dynamics you could do with Clayface that I think would be spectacular.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. That's
and
awesome.
I'm just gonna keep talking because he's my number 4.
All right, well, there you go. That worked out.
I'm with you. There's not a I guess I don't know if they just don't think there's a high demand, to your point, but I've always just thought he is so cool. I mean, for all the things you mentioned in that, I just think he would be such a spectacular piece. And I have that Bane statue that you have as well. To me, that's the most underrated and the best quarter scale villain that's come out to date. So something about his size, I think, would be absolutely perfect. So you hit the nail on the head. Clayface is definitely on my list as well.
I mean, he's definitely, I could see he's definitely a risk for a company to take. I was talking with another statue company this week, and they're maybe interested in him. And so I have hope that we're going to see him in some form. The only Clayface that I have is my Batman the Animated Series bust.
Right.
And he's one of my favorites. Like, I love him. And he's hard to find, which means that tells me that he's popular. Like, people don't want to get rid of him. So, there might be a smaller market for him, but definitely he's just such a cool character.
I mean, even his Funko Pop's pretty hard to find, like the animated style. So I'm with you, dude. Let's move on to number 4 for you. Who is numero cuatro?
Okay, my number 4 is Ras al Ghul, Ras al Ghul. He's a character that is very interesting to me, and he's one of the ones that I'm surprised that they haven't done in some form. A lot of people really wanted him for the Arkham line, just because he looked really cool and creepy in that. He's also, has these great colors, with the greens and the maybe purples or whatever iteration that maybe like a Sideshow would do. But you can have him pose with like ninjas or whatever you want. There's so many options, I think, for him, or even including the pit. How cool would that be? Like him coming out of it or something, or, with the neon green. I just think it could be really fun. And again, I'm really surprised that they haven't done him yet.
No, I am too. He's used so well, especially in the animated show. He was always my favorite, besides Joker. He was always my favorite villain to come on screen, because a lot of people, when they clamor for, I want the detective part of Batman. I want the detective. Well, he calls Batman the detective. In any time Ra's is involved, it's a very strong detective storyline that's going to come of it. And even in the animated series, there's like an episode where he's like with Jonah Hex, like back in the old days. So he's got a lot of options as well. To your point, the colors are tremendous, and I would love to see that animated look with like the little like Fu Manchu and like the gray hair on the side. I think that would be so cool. So even if they can incorporate Damian or Talia, somehow into the piece, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would love to see her as well. I mean, it's just a no-brainer, because he has been a very popular character and so underrated as a character for a very, very long time. And again, like collecting Batman stuff, there's not a lot of color.
Right.
A lot of blacks and grays and dark blues, and there's not a lot of pop of color other than some maybe Poison Ivy here and there, or Joker's purple coat. So I think that he would really add a lot to a collection and really stand out if done properly. So
yeah, I'm with you, man.
So that's my number 4. What's about your number 3?
I'm going to go with the Riddler for number 3. This one is shocking to me that he doesn't have a statue by now. I mean, he has literally been around since almost the beginning with Batman. He's one of the first villains that you think of when you hear the Batman rogues. Yes, he hasn't been used maybe as a huge foe where he's done all this damage to Batman, but he's still one of the original, all the way back from the 1966 show. I mean, the Jim Carrey version did happen, but there's a lot of iterations of him, and there's different costumes. Obviously, you mentioned the Arkham line, and I know that's a big line that you collect. A lot of people have been clamoring for a Riddler Arkham line, so I would like to see either that version in a Prime 1 or a Sideshow premium format of Riddler with maybe the question marks on his suit or like the little hat and a cane. I just think he's a staple. You can't really have a Batman collection without Riddler, so he's my number 3.
Yeah, it blows my mind. Talk about color, this incredible color on him, the bowler hat, the purple stripe along the bowler. I mean, it's just, and maybe some companies think that he would just be too simple. Maybe like there's not, as other than the jacket and the bowler hat, is there anything to him? But I think if you did it right, he's such an intellectual villain. And going back to what you said about the detective stuff, like that's my favorite. Like I love the detective, and Riddler adds a lot to that. With a lot of times he helps solve the crime or adds to the puzzle. So those stories speak to me the most. Especially those old stories like the mob stories, and like, I love those stories. Again, going back to Long Halloween. But yes, Riddler sometimes is this kind of like this pansy type character. But he's also been portrayed as really strong too, or portrayed, excuse me. So yeah, I cannot, out of all the statues, he's the one I think I'm most shocked that he hasn't been made.
Same. Yeah, same. What about you? What is your number 3?
My number 3 is the Penguin. The Penguin is a character maybe right along with Riddler. I cannot believe that they haven't done, because I think people probably know the Penguin more than the Riddler or some of these other characters. Whenever I was a kid, I loved the Scooby-Doo series where Batman and fought Joker and Penguin. Like those, when I grew up, I thought those were the 2 main villains. I always thought that. Even in the 60s movie, it was Joker and kind of Penguin, like they kind of ran the show, and then all the other villains were off to the side. But I don't know exactly what version of Penguin I would want. I grew up with the really super, like short, fat, campy type, Penguin. And I know that like Tweeterhead is going to do a Penguin at some point, from what I've heard. Whether that's the superpowers or not, I don't know. But again, I just don't understand like why Sideshow or somebody else hasn't done that character. I can see maybe why Prime 1 didn't do him, because he's kind of, I don't know, he's maybe a little bit more plain of a character. Right. I still really wanted him in the Arkham line, but man, I mean, the umbrella, you can have things with the penguins on the bases. You can do a lot of amazing things again with the statue. And I think that it would sell because people know who he is.
Exactly.
You mentioned Talon a bit ago. I really would love to have a Talon too, but not as many people know who he is.
Right.
Whereas Penguin, I mean, like you said, it's been around forever, just like the Riddler. Like he's been around forever in different forms. Like I loved the Penguin on Gotham. Like he was one of my favorite characters on that TV show. So again, to me, it's a no-brainer, but I would love to see a Penguin.
No, I'm with you. I'm curious, what is your favorite version? You're just personally of Penguin. Do you like more of that campy, or do you like what they've gone with, like the mob boss with like he's got his little QI and he's more of that gangster type? Lately, more of the mob boss. Where he owns the Iceberg Lounge, and I think that they were really smart with how they transitioned that character and made him a little bit more relevant, I guess. He wasn't just this side joke. And so I really like what they've done with him. Again, that does make him maybe less of a exciting character to do, just some guy in a suit and a top hat or whatever. But I think that they could get creative and even just have him have the umbrella shooting out in front of him or something, with him kind of hiding and cowering behind it. I would just love to see that, whether it's the mob boss or the campy. I don't really care. I just want a Penguin in this case right here. Yeah, come on, guys. Come on, Sideshow. Let's do it.
Come on. What are you doing?
No, but excellent choice there.
All right. Well, how about your number 2?
Great minds think alike. Mine is Penguin as well. Specifically the mob boss version. I think it was such a good move when they moved him into that gangster, because being that he's short and struggles with his weight a little bit. Yep. When you think of him going maybe hand to hand with Batman, you're like, it probably isn't going to go very well for poor Penguin. But now he's a mob boss. He's got these henchmen and he's got bodyguards that can protect him, and makes him more interesting because he can actually do some damage. So again, to your point, same with Riddler. I just cannot wrap my heads around the fact that Penguin has not been made, just because he's so synonymous with the Batman rogues. And I mean, he's been along for decades before Bane or Harley or any of these, villains that we have multiple versions of now. So I'm with you, Penguin. He's my number 2, and along with Riddler, is probably the most shocking that nobody's done it yet. Yeah,
it just boggles my mind. Like we said, just absolutely boggles my mind. But I love that he uses his resources. He uses what he can to do whatever he needs to do to survive, and that's basically what he does. So,
are you excited to see Colin Farrell play him in the Batman?
I am, although like he's kind of come out and said he doesn't have much to do in the movie, like so that kind of worries me. But I do feel like there is a bigger plan for these movies. I've been hearing all these Joker rumors about maybe he's in the third film. So I think that the idea to me of having all of these villains, I love it. I love that they're not maybe featured players of the movie, but they're there. You know, they're hinted about, or they make a cameo here and there. I love that, because that, you know, if you look at a story like Long Halloween or a story like Hush, they pop in and out, you know, and that's what I love. I love stories with all of them. And so I love the idea of maybe Colin Farrell just having this little bit of a role, but then the second one he like has a big role, and then you know maybe we see him pop in the third, or he's in Arkham or something. So I'm excited. I'm very excited about that film. I hope it's good.
I know, me too. I know they're on a roll, so I'm really hoping the same thing. But back to the countdown, we have our runner-up. Who is your number 2?
Okay, so my number 2, this might surprise some folks, but I would really like to see a ventriloquist. I've always loved that character, this little guy behind this puppet. And, you know, is the puppet really real, or is it really, you know, everybody talks to the puppet? The ventriloquist, of course, Scarface. But it's always the man behind that, you know, he's just this guy behind this puppet. And I always thought that was really intriguing. And I like the way he was presented. I don't know. I just would love to see a statue of that. I know I'm probably in the minority with him, but I've always wanted to see it. I've been collecting the Diamond Select bust from the animated series. I'm really hoping they do him, because I think that would be really exciting. But I would love to see a premium format. I don't think it'll ever happen, to be honest. But he's definitely one that I would love to see in 3D form.
No, I'm with you. It's the Joker's. It's either the Joker one where he makes like it's like an exclusive where you could put the little Scarface.
Yeah, I do have that little Scarface. And so I do have him in some form, you know, that little doll. But I would still love to see. But
it's not a real. And I'm with you, dude. I always thought he's really, really cool because it's like kind of a Two-Face where it's like that split personality, but even on a grander scale, because you really don't know. It's this like sweet, innocent guy who like almost is like the old school like King Tut, where it's like, oh, I didn't know, like it's not, you know, I don't have any control, and it's really cool little, and people are afraid of him. Like it's really cool, especially how they played him in the animated series. I think that is a very good choice. I didn't even think about him.
Well, and I don't remember her name, but for a while they had a female that was the ventriloquist. I can't remember exactly, and so I could see maybe a statue company selling more statues if it was a female, because they do very well, like the Harley Quinn statues and Poison Ivy or whatever. So maybe if they went that route, because she was always kind of in this red dress or something behind him, and you know, non-suspecting. I would still rather have the OG version, of course, but I don't know. It's just he's an obscure character. But I've always liked that image. I just, you know, he's over there with the fedora and the Tommy guns. You know, it's just fun piece.
No, that's a great choice. Seriously, I didn't even think of him. That's a fantastic choice.
Yeah. So anyway, well, we're almost to number 1 here. Should we do some honorable mentions?
We should. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Why don't you start? We'll just kind of piggyback back and forth. We won't talk about him too long, but what was your number 3?
Mine was Black Mask.
I didn't think of him.
Yeah, he's just a cool, I think, you know, having like just his look with like the all white suit and a black mask with maybe like a machine gun. I just think it would be such a cool looking statue. And I thought they portrayed him pretty good in Birds of Prey. You know, say what you want about the movie, but that looked really well. Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan, great job. But Black Mask was mine. What about you?
I picked Man-Bat. I think that he would be fun to have. I know that there is a Man-Bat on the Sanity piece from XM Studios, so at least there's a little bit of a nod to him. And of course, that Batman Nightmare was kind of Man-Bat-like a little bit. But I think that he would be fun to have in the collection. He's terrifying. I really wanted the Man-Bat from Arkham because he's just so creepy, and with all those little wires sticking, or the little cords sticking off of him and stuff. I just think that would be a really fun piece. But man, Black Mask, I really wish I had picked him. I really want a Black Mask.
No, absolutely. No, and Man-Bat too. When he pops out in the game, I remember being like, oh man, like it really is big time. My other one was Hugo Strange. He, as you know, he's the OG he was actually supposed to be the big bad for Batman before they created the Joker. Like, he's the original big bad of Batman. So obviously, you know, there's nothing too crazy they could do with him, but I want the lab coat and the goggles and just, you know, I would love that. Just Hugo Strange.
That's awesome. And I didn't think of him either. I was like, I'm surprised because I really like him. Now I'm thinking of other characters I should have picked. I'm like, I thought of 3 more right now. But man, yeah, he's such a cool character. And he's a simplistic character, you know, in look, you know, but just with the glasses and the head, I don't know. It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. Okay. Yeah. So my number 2 is maybe an obscure piece again, but it's the Mask of the Phantasm. I think that could be,
I didn't think of
a neat premium format if done correctly, and maybe not as cartoony, but more like the Sideshow style with that mask. I think that could be really neat with some like smoke effect around her. I don't know. It's just kind of wishful thinking. I don't think we'll ever see it, but it would be fun.
We must be, because I didn't think of her either. I'm like, oh, that would have like been on my top 5. Yeah, that would be really cool with the smoke and have like the claw. You could even have like, you know, the exclusive with Andrea Beaumont, like space. You know, great choice, man. That is fantastic.
Thanks. That's awesome.
My last one is Hush.
I didn't think of that either.
Yeah, I mean, he would be hard with. I mean, he could be, you know, with the like villains that are behind you, but like he's just that storyline is just so iconic. I know with the Hush Batman, we're gonna get kind of that bandaged face on one of the versions, but a true Hush with like the trench coat and the bandaged face, I just think would be a really cool statue from one of, you know, I think all of our favorite Batman stories. So Hush is my last one.
I think Hush would be perfect for a premium format. When we were talking about Clayface, you could even do something with Hush with Clayface if you did one. But man, yeah, he would definitely be on my list too. I didn't think of him again. That's the great thing about Batman. There's so many villains. Like there's so many, and all these villains haven't been made. I mean, there's like this giant pot of characters that they could be pulling from. But my number 1 on the honorable mention is one you already mentioned, and it's the Riddler. Definitely made my list there. He's not my favorite character of all time, but again, I just feel like he should be represented somewhere. And that's like the biggest complaint of sanity. Like, where's Riddler? Well, you know, David Finch didn't put him in there. You know, it was his art. So it's just one of those things where he is a character. Again, I don't know why he hasn't been made, but he should be.
No, I'm with you. And to your point, I mean, you can go to characters like Victor Zsasz and, you know, Professor Pig. I mean, that are cool characters, but just maybe don't have the audience, you know, to create on a mass scale. But they would make awesome pieces. So
absolutely,
good choices, man.
All right. Well, I guess we're ready for drum roll here. We're ready for our number 1 choices here. Here we go. Our number 1 most wanted villain statues. What's your number 1?
Ras al Ghul, the Demon's Head. He, just for the reasons we talked about. I mean, he to me, actually, besides Joker, is like the second villain I think of when I think of Batman, just because I love that detective aspect, the colors, and how important he is. I think if I were to make, and you mentioned it, I would have him coming out of the Lazarus pit, you know, like just the green, like, you know, falling off of him and have his cape. But, you know, his importance with,
love it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Talia, which is responsible for Damian Wayne, which is now the new Robin. So he's just responsible for so much, and I just love the detective part of him. He's not really a bad guy in his own mind. You know what I mean? I think, you know, we've heard it time and time. You know, they're the heroes of their own story, and he's in his mind doing good. He's just going about it the wrong way, kind of like a Thanos type almost.
I was just going to say that.
I just love him. And I hope we see him more in movies too. Like we got the kind of glimpse of a race, you know, and with Liam Neeson, but in movies and in statues, I want to Ras al Ghul. So he's my number 1. Drum roll for you. Number 1 is
my number 1. You also mentioned earlier, and that's Talon. I would really like to see a Talon. And I think my main objective here is that Prime 1 teased a Talon about a year and a half ago, and in its 1/3 scale, and that's primarily what I'm collecting right now. And so I love the idea of a Talon. If I get it in 1/3 scale, if I get it in 1/4 scale, I just really liked the Court of Owls. I thought it was, you know, the best new villain alongside with the Batman Who Laughs. I mean, you can't touch him. But the court, the court, and even if it wasn't just the Talon, even if it was like Talon with the court members behind him or something with the mask. I mean, I would love anything to do with Court of Owls because it was such a big story and it was a very successful story. Amazing writing, amazing art by Capullo. I got a chance to meet Scott Snyder and Capullo. I did a VIP event with them, got to be in there for 2 hours with them. And it was amazing to hear their stories. And I don't know. I know that he's not a very well-known character at this point. I mean, for the core comic collectors, yes.
He should
but
be.
The general audience, no. But I mean, I just that image of those masks, I mean, it could be really impactful, and I would love it. I would love it.
No, I'm with you. The thing too about what I really appreciate with that, Court of Owls is, Batman's always like, he knows every square inch of Gotham, and the fact that there's this huge secret society like living in the shadows all this time that he doesn't know about.
Yeah.
And then they just kick his butt, for the longest time. I mean, I was like, what is happening? And I just thought it was brilliant, the fact that you have all these villains, but yet you come up with a whole new scheme and a whole new character that's so sick. And I'm obsessed. I would love to see anything with the Court of. I wouldn't even care if it was just a Court of Owls person. It doesn't even have to be Talon. Like,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, as long as it has the mask. Prime One just did the Batman Who Laughs when it had the owl mask on the exclusive.
Yes,
amazing. Like I just love that little nod there. But really, all of these statues, you can't go wrong with any of them. I mean, they're all popular characters. There's a big demand there. Like I said, I doing this for as long as I've been doing it, I have so many conversations with people, and they ask me all the time, why aren't we getting these statues? And I usually tell them it usually probably comes down to license, of how many characters DC is wanting Sideshow or Prime One to do. But there is a big demand out there for these characters. And I think, Freeze and Scarecrow has done very well. Sales. So if they're doing well, if a Scarecrow can do well, I know a Riddler can do well. I know a Penguin.
Oh, yeah. So, and I can say those two pieces are amazing. I have both of them on pre-order, and I was blown away with both of those, the Mr. Freeze and the Scarecrow that are coming out. They're spectacular. So please keep it coming, and give us a Nightwing for crying out loud too.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, they finally gave us a Robin, so there's a Robin.
Come on.
And I'm not a big fan of Robin, but I love that statue. Like, that statue is really well done. And I love that you can change the look. You can have Damian or, whatever. So anyway, thank you guys so very much for joining us. This was so much fun. Thank you for doing this. Where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can check me out on Instagram at Superman14JF. You can also check out the Comic Collectors Guild. We're basically a group, an organization where, it's collectors and comic artists and cosplayers and just everybody who, is in this community. You can be a part of our community and check out our YouTube page, Comic Collectors Guild, and then check out the Comic Collectors Guild Instagram at Comic Collectors Guild. And check out our stuff. So, message me anytime. I'd be happy to speak with any of you. And thank you so much for having me again. This was really fun.
Absolutely. And I'll have all that information down in the show notes down below. So if you want to click that, make sure you support them. I'm a proud member now, so I'm really excited about that.
Welcome.
And again, just thank you so very much for spending some time with me. It was awesome. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll do it again soon.
All right. Well, thank you guys so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Also, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button as well and click that notification bell. That way you're notified every single time we put out new content. And definitely check out Jake's stuff down below. Thank you guys so very much for watching. We'll see you next time in the Batcave. Goodbye, everybody.
Take it easy, guys.
Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching today, and if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button right here on the screen and check out these two awesome videos. I think you're going to love them. And also please join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I would love to have you join in all the fun. Thank you guys so very much for watching. See you in the Batcave.